The Limpin POS drifted through open void, a faint hum from her patchwork engines the only sound. Gront leaned back in the cockpit chair, one boot on the console, munching from a bag of Funyuns like a man without a care in the galaxy. Rin flicked switches lazily. Course steady. Quietest run we've had in weeks. Krell's voice echoed from engineering. Too quiet. Historically, statistically, and narratively suspicious. Sid replied. Agreed. The universe appears to be holding its breath. Nim, the officer, was dozing off in the quiet hum. A green rubber band smacked him in the back of the head, fresh off the first finger of Gront. Look alive, Nim. We don't want to get abducted by space lobsters. Gront squinted out the viewport. If something's waiting out there, it better be selling coffee. Without warning, the stars ahead began to stretch. Light warped and twisted inward, converging on a single dark point. Rin straightened, tail flicking. Sid, are you seeing that? Sid replied. Affirmative, gravitational signature forming from vacuum. The situation is highly unlikely. The distortion expanded from nothing to everything, and a vast cube slid into existence as if reality itself had coughed it up. Its surface glowed with faint, sickly green veins of light crawling across layer upon layer of mechanical detail. The crew of the Limpin POS fell silent. Gront blinked. Tell me that's not just a big ice cube, Sid replied. Negative, Captain. Object identified Daborg vessel. Classification, assimilation class megastructure, origin certain. Function, absolute. Krell's voice crackled through comms. Assimilation? Clarify that, Sid, Sid announced. The Daborg absorb encountered matter. They do not conquer. They integrate. Machines, ships, life forms, all added to their collective design, Rin replied. So if they catch us, Sid said, you will become a component. Possibly decorative. Gront snapped upright. Rin full burn. Now engines roared. The Limpin POS swung hard to starboard, blue ion trails blazing. The ship shuddered as the thrusters screamed against the void, pulling away from the cube's looming bulk. Through the viewport, the cube stayed eerily still, distant yet impossibly massive. Its green lattice flickered once. Krell said, I think it just noticed us. Sid replied, confirmed. Energy surge detected. Daborg vessel is activating pursuit systems. Rin said, you're kidding. That thing's as big as a continent, Sid remarked. It is also far faster than it looks. Behind them, the void shimmered. The cube didn't move so much as shift reality forward, light distorting as it gained on them with impossible steadiness. Krell shouted from below, we can't outrun that thing. We can barely outfly a customs tug. Sid announced, recommendation, maximum speed and irregular vectoring. Daborg targeting systems rely on predictive motion. They cannot anticipate stupidity. Gront, finally our specialty. Rin grinned. Hang on. The Limpin POS dove into a chaotic, evasive spin, rolling, twisting, dropping through its own engine wake, thrusters flashing blue and gold. The cube's green scanning beam swept past, missing by kilometers but narrowing fast. Proximity alert. Daborg trajectory intercept in 30 seconds. Ideas? Gront asked. The crew had no response as the Limpin POS roared through the black, every deck light flickering as Rin forced the engines past their comfort zone. The enormous Daborg cube loomed behind them, silent, relentless, green lights pulsing like a slow mechanical heartbeat. Gront leaned over the console, knuckles white. Rin, give me everything she's got, Rin replied. She's already screaming in 3 languages I don't even know. From engineering came Krell's voice over comms, calm as ever. Captain, I have a potentially reckless idea. Gront groaned. Those are my favorite kind. Let's hear it. Krell's face appeared on a flickering monitor, goggles askew, cables draped over his shoulders. I can temporarily divert reactor coolant through the FTL couplers, flood the drive with raw plasma, and give us a speed surge. It'll only last a few seconds, but if my math's right, we'll outrun their sensor sweep. Sid made note. Your math has been right approximately 56% of the time. Krell smirked. Then this is a coin toss with better odds. Do it, Gront said. Moments later, the ship lurched as coolant pumps screamed to life. A deep, bone-shaking thrum rolled through the hull. Steam vented from wall seams. Panels rattled. The drive core howled. Light flooded the cockpit, blinding white and blue. For a heartbeat, space warped around the Limpin POS like a mirage. Then the ship shot forward, a comet of raw plasma tearing through the void. The Daborg cube shrank behind them, its scanning beams slicing empty space. Sid announced, speed increase calculated at 312%, duration 8 seconds. Krell, I suggest enjoying it while it lasts. When the surge burned out, the stars snapped back into sharp focus, the cockpit filled with the hiss of cooling metal. Rin said, engines offline, but we're coasting. Daborg are gone from sensors, for now. Gront sagged into the captain's chair. Remind me to hug that crazy engineer when this is over. Krell climbed up from the lower deck, covered in coolant steam and looking smug. Told you it would work. Yeah, Gront said. We just had to risk spontaneous vaporization to prove it. The Limpin POS drifted through empty space, her lights dimmed to conserve power. Outside, the stars were still. No green glows, no distortions. Rin said, we bought ourselves time, now what? Sid replied, options include 1. Continue fleeing indefinitely. 2. Hide behind an asteroid and pretend to be a rock. Gront leaned back, staring at the distant stars. All right, crew, recharge the coils, patch the leaks, and see if Krell has any more plans. The Daborg ain't the only ones who can adapt. Outside the viewport, far behind them, the blackness shimmered faintly, a hint of green light flickering like an eye-opening. The Limpin POS floated quietly through black space, half its hull cooling from the plasma boost. The stars stretched endlessly, cold, distant, indifferent. In the cockpit, Rin adjusted course with one clawed hand, the other holding a half-empty can of something labeled caffeine substitute industrial strength. Still nothing on sensors, he said. Maybe we lost them. Gront, lounging in the captain's chair, let out a long breath. Good. Maybe we'll live long enough to regret this. Sid announced, statistical probability of survival has improved from hopeless to briefly promising. Krell, wiping coolant residue from his gloves, chuckled. I'll take it. But then Sid's tone changed. Correction. Probability reverting. The cockpit lights dimmed as the sensor grid flickered alive. Sid said, new contact. Same gravitational signature. Same modulation pattern. The Daborg have reacquired us. Gront. They followed us through that plasma burn? Sid, affirmative. Their navigation appears to operate across multiple temporal strata. Translation, they cheat. Rin punched the throttle. Let's see how bad they want us. The Limpin POS surged forward, engines howling like a wounded animal. Behind them, the Daborg cube slid out of the dark, silent but unstoppable, green energy pulsing across its surface in perfect rhythm. Sid said, they are adjusting to our vector. The Daborg appear to have learned from our previous trajectory patterns. Gront slammed a fist on the console. We're teaching them too much? Krell, got any more suicidal ideas? Krell hesitated, eyes darting between displays. Then a slow grin crept across his face. Actually, yes. He pulled up a schematic, a star map of random, overlapping jump coordinates. I can rig the drive to make micro-jumps, short, chaotic hops through subspace. We'll pop in and out like static across different sectors. No linear trail, no predictive pattern. Gront said, perfect, do it. Rin replied, everyone hold on to something that won't explode. The ship shuddered as Krell rerouted power. The stars ahead blurred, and the Limpin POS vanished. For 3 seconds, nothing existed but light and sound stretched into infinity. Then pop, they reappeared near a distant asteroid field. Rin gasped. I can't believe we're still intact. Sid replied, you speak prematurely. The stars flickered again, another jump, then another. The ship tumbled through space like a skipping stone, each burst of light shorter, sharper, more chaotic. Krell leaned over his readouts. They shouldn't be able to track us. Our jumps are random. And yet they are not tracking our position. They are tracking us. Gront frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Quantum signature lock. The Daborg are matching the energy residue of our FTL core. Every time we move, we announce exactly who we are louder. Rin looked out the viewport. The stars behind them shifted, and from the distance, space itself seemed to warp. The Daborg cube emerged again, smaller but unmistakable, cutting through subspace like a knife through water. Krell slammed the console. They're phasing across the same jumps. Rin said, they're learning how to run stupid faster than we do. Sid said, affirmative. Congratulations, Captain. You've taught an interdimensional nightmare how to improvise. The Limpin POS jolted through another jump, reappearing above a fractured moon. Craters reflected the cube's eerie glow as it closed the distance again. Patient, efficient, unstoppable. Krell's voice was tight. We can't outrun them forever. As the Limpin POS dove toward a distant debris field, the Daborg cube followed like a silent god. Massive, deliberate, inevitable. For every maneuver they pulled, it countered. For every jump, it adjusted. Sid's final report echoed in the cockpit. Captain, the Daborg have now matched our propulsion frequency to 5 decimal points. They are no longer chasing us. They are pacing us. The crew stared out the viewport as the cube's glow filled the stars behind them. Gront exhaled. Well, that's new, Sid said. Correction, it's very old, and it has caught us. The Limpin POS drifted silently in open space, engine sputtering like an asthmatic kettle. Hull plating rattled. One of the cargo bay doors hung crooked. Every console glowed an uneasy yellow. Rin wiped condensation off his flight goggles. Engines at 12%, life support running on borrowed promises. Gront slumped in the captain's chair. We've outrun, outjumped, and outdone as long as possible. If they're still coming, we're out of tricks. Sid said, they're scanning us now. No weapons fired, no communication. A single green beam swept across the freighter's hull, deliberate, invasive. Every light on the ship flickered in rhythm with it. Rin said, here we go, assimilation time. Krell remarked, it's been an honor, gentlemen. The beam finished its pass, lingering a moment over the battered engines in the cargo hold that once carried a pallet of grampers. Then, silence. The cube hung motionless, green lights dimming slightly. It just stared. Seconds dragged by. Gront whispered, Sid, what are they doing? Sid replied, analyzing, evaluating, possibly suppressing laughter. Sid announced, they have completed their scan, processing complete, assimilation parameters canceled. Rin asked, canceled, Sid replied, quote, insufficient value detected, end quote. Gront blinked. You mean to tell me they looked us over and decided we weren't worth it? Affirmative. The Daborg have deemed us technologically obsolete and biologically unremarkable. Rin crossed his arms. So we're beneath their standards. Krell sighed. We've officially been rejected by a machine. Gront leaned back with a grin. Well, ain't that a relief? Sid replied. Correction, it is both a relief and an insult of cosmic proportions. The Daborg cube slowly rotated, turning its colossal face away. Without a word, it slid back into the darkness, vanishing as suddenly as it had appeared. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Gront stood, brushed fig bar crumbs from his jacket, and clapped his hands. Well, crew, I'd call that a win. We stared down the ugliest hunk of evil in the galaxy, and they decided we were too pathetic to bother with. Sid said, Captain, shall I log this encounter as victory by aesthetic disappointment? Gront grinned wide. Sid, you log it however you like. Just make sure it goes under, not eaten. The Limpin POS limped off into the starfield, exhaust sputtering in irregular bursts. Somewhere in the distance, the Daborg cube drifted away, fading into the black. Sid said, Captain, if it's any consolation, they appear to have downgraded our threat rating to clutter. Gront chuckled, stretching back in his chair. Clutter's fine, Sid. Clutter lives forever.